After my identity as an adopted son was exposed, my girlfriend of many years promptly married my brother. When their wedding photo surfaced, I became the absolute laughingstock of the entire family, because they all knew full well that the true heir to the Gao Corporation had always been Gao Mingzhi. Unfortunately, no one guessed that I wasn't just some orphan of unknown origin, but the sole successor to a leading listed enterprise. I squatted by the roadside, a pile of bottles and cans at my feet. More than my girlfriend Nanji's betrayal, I was bothered by my parents' words, seemingly comforting yet utterly neutral. Just a casual, dismissive remark. To each their own fate. I couldn't understand how I was inferior to my brother. Academically, I outperformed him. After graduating from a prestigious 211 university, I was forced into the company, compelled to start from the very bottom and claw my way up, step by step. My brother, meanwhile, graduated from a third-tier university and was immediately packed off to the UK with family funds for a combined master's and PhD program. Just when I'd finally gotten the company running smoothly, finally managed to relax, and decided to catch my breath, my father suddenly summoned me home. He informed me I needed to prepare to hand over my work. Simultaneously, he told me my brother was returning and would assume full control of all the major projects currently under my management. In other words, it was time for me to yield my position. At this critical juncture, my girlfriend of 7 years, Nanji, suddenly unilaterally announced our breakup and blocked me on all social media. The next news I had of her was a month later. She and my brother were splashed across the headlines of various media outlets. Under the title, "A Match Made in Heaven," were their wedding photos. I let out a self-mocking laugh. Describing myself as a homeless cur felt disturbingly apt now. After all, my brother had already, in front of all the media, casually let slip my adopted status. Perhaps, from start to finish, I was the only one involved who had been utterly kept in the dark. That must be why I was exploited so thoroughly. Someone picked up the beer can at my feet. A pair of gleaming leather shoes appeared before my eyes. "Excuse me, are you Gao Mingzhi, President Gao?" I slowly raised my head. The man before me was impeccably dressed in a suit and tie, sunglasses masking his eyes. I knew instantly. Undoubtedly, some reporter looking to stir the pot. "Get lost." I practically spat out, my teeth clenched. The man didn't leave. Instead, he pulled out his phone and seemed to be carefully comparing my face to it. After a moment, he spoke. "President Gao, hello. Mr. Su sent me to pick you up." Seeing no reaction from me, he added, "Mr. Su from the Su Corporation." My hand froze midair. Su Corporation. Su Shenghui. That was the powerhouse conglomerate the Gao family had desperately tried, and failed, to establish ties with for years. The man shifted slightly to the side, revealing a pure white Rolls Royce Cullinan behind him, the only one in the entire city. The Cullinan drove straight towards a detached villa outside the third ring road. Its Suzhou-style garden architecture was unique and elegant. 2 bodyguards led me into the elevator and pressed the button for the 3rd floor. My heart began to pound wildly. Before the Su group, the Gao family was insignificant. I truly couldn't fathom the reason for this summons. Crossing a long corridor, the bodyguard leading the way stopped and gestured for me to enter alone. I took a deep breath and knocked. There was no sound from within. After hesitating for 2 seconds, I turned the handle. The room was empty. Immediately, a clear voice sounded from behind me. "Gao Mingzhi." I turned around and recognized her at once. It was Mrs. Su, whose given name was Song Mei. Reports suggested she should be in her 50s, yet standing before me now, had I not known who she was, I would have thought her 40 at most. Time, it seemed, was exceptionally kind to beautiful women. Until Song Mei handed me a stack of documents. Her expression remained cold, revealing nothing. My eyes widened in disbelief. The paternity test report in my hands lay starkly before me. Black characters on white paper, clearly stating that Su Shenghui and I shared a biological father-son relationship. Trembling, I looked up. If I was Su Shenghui's son, then Song Mei should logically be my birth mother. After all, they were husband and wife, rumored to share a deep marital bond. A surge of emotion filled me, not just because of who they were, but in the next second, Song Mei's icy voice extinguished my excitement. "You look very much like her." I instantly understood her distance towards me. My birth mother was someone else. The next moment, Song Mei turned and pulled back the curtains, revealing a hidden hospital bed behind them. It was surrounded by tubes. Startled, I glanced at Song Mei, but she, acting as if nothing was amiss, wore a look of tenderness and spoke softly towards the bed. "Shenghui, your son. I found him for you." Then she said to me, "Come over, speak to your father." I hesitated for a moment, but still walked over. This was the first time I had seen the head of the Su Group up close. This business prodigy, the founder whose company dominated the industry in scale and reputation. I was long familiar with his personal history. Back then, hoping to curry favor, I had done thorough research, but regrettably, the Gao family's foundations were too shallow. We didn't even qualify to scrape by in the Su Group's shadow. A man of such monumental achievements was actually my father. Unfortunately, he now lay with his eyes tightly shut, showing no emotion, as if asleep. Gao Mingzhi, if you were asked to take over the Su Group, would you be willing? The question was like a bombshell. Even my pupils couldn't help but contract. But immediately after, my heart grew cold again. Everyone knew Su Shenghui and Song Mei had a son named Su Siyuan, rumored to be exceptionally talented and gifted. It was just that the couple protected their only son extremely well. Back when I tried desperately to establish a connection, I had exhausted efforts digging up information on him, yet failed to obtain even a single photograph. When things deviate from the norm, there's usually something amiss. The Gao family situation was a prime example. Thinking of this, I shook my head firmly. As if expecting this, Song Mei didn't say much more, instead leading me to another room. Here too was a hospital bed. I slowly approached and saw a young face, bearing a striking resemblance, 7 or 8 parts out of 10, to Su Shenghui. Su Siyuan, my half-brother. At this moment, he too lay alone on the bed, a ventilator covering half his face. Come back. The Su Group needs you. My head was still spinning when I left the villa. I don't know how I managed to agree to Song Mei's terms, but I remember the rare smile on her face. A black Maybach pulled up smoothly beside me. It was the same bodyguard as before. He addressed me respectfully. Mr. Su, this is the car Madam instructed be given to you. I instinctively shook my head, but he insisted on handing me the keys. Madam said there's no need for formality with things within the family. Also, your room has been prepared. You can come back to stay whenever you wish. The spacious apartment near the second ring road is newly purchased by Madam. She said it's a welcoming gift for you. I took the keys, having no time to offer thanks before the phone in my pocket, silent for so long, suddenly vibrated. It was Gao Mingzhi. His voice was cold as he said, "Tomorrow is my wedding with Nanji. Dad said you absolutely must attend. Have you forgotten? The Gao family only has one son." This was the first time I had ever spoken to Gao Mingzhi in such a tone. There was a distinct pause on the other end, followed by a surge of towering rage. "Of course I know. Don't worry. After tomorrow, you won't be able to bear the Gao name even if you wanted to." The call ended abruptly with a sharp click. Immediately, the phone rang again. Nanji's voice came through, soft and yielding as I remembered it. "I know it's my fault, but if you don't show up tomorrow, the media will fabricate who knows what." This time, it was I who cut the call short. The next day, as I stepped out of the Maybach, a swarm of media reporters descended upon me. "We heard you're an orphan adopted by Mr. Gao. Were you forced to resign from your position as general manager? Excuse me, will you still be involved in other projects of the Gao Group?" Fortunately, the hotel security arrived promptly. Without even removing my sunglasses, I walked straight towards the second-floor banquet hall. Gao Mingzhi and Nanji stood arm in arm at the entrance, greeting guests. I knew you would come. Unseen for years, Gao Mingzhi was just the same, flamboyant, domineering, and utterly condescending. He just didn't know that Gao Mingzhi no longer existed in this world. Standing before him now was Su Xiao. My arrival caused quite a stir, drawing numerous scrutinizing gazes from those present. Although my past with Nanji was never officially announced, it wasn't exactly kept hidden over the years. Now, having lost both my kingdom and the beauty, there were plenty eager to relish my downfall. Amidst the clinking glasses, past rivals came up one after another to offer toasts, their words laced with probing questions and veiled mockery. Gao Mingzhi approached, a false smile plastered on his face as he slung an arm around my shoulder. "This little brother of mine is quite something, you know. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. In the future, even I might have to concede defeat to him." The heavy stench of alcohol wafted near my ear. This was clearly his moment of triumph, basking in the glow of success in both career and love. Many industry peers present had suffered setbacks at my hands in the past. Seeing the tables turn, they immediately began to curry favor with Gao Mingzhi, showering him with endless praise. Offensive remarks were tossed back and forth, but I couldn't be bothered to engage. I simply sat down and slowly sipped my red wine. I had to admit, the wine itself was rather good. In the eyes of others, however, this merely looked like I had completely lost my standing and was drowning my sorrows in wine. Nanji also approached elegantly, holding her wine glass. "Brother Mingzhi," she began, "we've been like brother and sister for so many years. Now that I've become your sister-in-law, it's only right that I offer you a toast. I hope you find your own happiness soon too." "Like brother and sister?" I stood up with a cold sneer, fixing my gaze on her flawless face. "It's a good thing you didn't marry me then. Otherwise, wouldn't that have been incest?" "Shut up," Gao Mingzhi snapped. He pulled Nanji behind him, his eyes fixed on me, brimming with undisguised hostility. "There was always propriety between you and Nanji. If not like brother and sister, what else could it have been?" Then, lowering his voice, he added, "You'd better understand your place. Without the Gao family, you are nothing. Better keep your tail between your legs. Maybe then the Gao family might still deign to feed you." Although spoken quietly, the words were perfectly audible to the circle of guests nearby. I set down my glass and glanced around at the crowd. Every face wore an expression eagerly anticipating the unfolding drama. "Mr. Su, we should be going." A bodyguard suddenly appeared beside me. His voice was extremely soft, yet it still provoked a burst of loud laughter from Gao Mingzhi. "What did you call him? Mr. Su? Ha 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 ha. Impressive, little brother. Found yourself a new surname already? Looks like you intend to completely sever ties with the Gao family from now on." "Everyone," he announced, "please bear witness today. This man here, Gao Mingzhi, is officially no longer a member of our Gao family as of this day." "Mingzhi!" Su Hui suddenly appeared behind him. She shot me a reproachful glance before turning back to her son. "You're about to go on stage. Tidy yourself up, quickly. Your father has been waiting over there for ages." A moment later, the host began the opening remarks. Gao Yaozu and Su Hui, looking radiant, walked confidently onto the stage. Their gazes swept past me, then moved on without a flicker of acknowledgement. Nanji's parents had passed away years ago, and she had been raised by her aunt. However, given the friction between them, it was unlikely the aunt would be present today. Next, the bride and groom will raise their glasses together. "Please join us all in witnessing this happy couple." Before the host could finish his sentence, the large screen behind the couple suddenly flickered to life with a video. A jarring electronic screech echoed through the hall, and all eyes snapped towards the screen. "Darling, I miss you so much. Can't you come keep me company tonight? You really don't know how to treat a girl right." The venue instantly erupted in an uproar. The woman in the video was none other than today's bride, clad in scraps of fabric, striking seductive poses for the camera. The man with her, however, was not today's groom, nor certainly was it me. Cut it now." Even the host, despite his years of experience, was flustered, frantically shouting instructions backstage. The screen flickered a few times and went dark, but the audio feed persisted, broadcasting Nanji's intimate sounds throughout the hall. Gao Yaozu and Su Hui's faces turned livid, and grim-faced, they stormed out through a side door. Nanji's face was deathly pale. She stood rooted to the stage, utterly lost, her mouth opening and closing as if trying to speak, but no sound emerged. As I turned to leave, Gao Mingzhi's thunderous curses erupted behind me. The wedding had descended into a farce. The Gao Corporation once again dominated the headlines of major news outlets, commanding even more attention than before. However, I had no time to concern myself with their affairs. Since entering the Su Corporation under the name Su Xiao, numerous dissenting voices had surfaced within the company. Everyone harbored doubts about me, this son who had materialized out of thin air. Even with Song Mei's behind-the-scenes support, most shareholders remained deeply wary of me. They were unaware of my background, so their caution was understandable. However, after just a few days, I discovered that the Su Corporation was already rife with turbulent undercurrents. Besides the key executives who had built the company alongside Su Shenghui in the early days, there were also numerous collateral branches of the Su family within the corporation, who had previously followed Su Shenghui's every command. Now that the leader had just fallen, everyone was restless, eager to make their move. Although Song Mei held shares, for years she had primarily played the role of a supportive wife. In this situation, if she didn't swiftly gain control, the Su Corporation would be in peril. I was now her only lifeline. Having the biological son take over would, at the very least, lend an air of legitimacy. This continued until a manager Li, just back from leave, suddenly spoke up during a meeting. "Young CEO Su, forgive my presumption, but could you possibly be the adopted son the Gao family scandalously revealed some time ago?" "Gao Mingzhi?" I studied his face, that a man past 60, Li Rue. Yet, even after a moment, I couldn't recall any previous encounter. Could I have possibly offended him in the business world before? Deciding against evasion, I stated frankly, Gao Mingzhi was my former name, but it's irrelevant now. Climbed up the social ladder and ditched even his adoptive parents. Interjected Lu Qi from lower down the table, the nephew of Su Conglomerat's maternal uncle. Don't spout nonsense. Everyone knows that Gao family is rotten. Li Rui interjected again, his gaze towards me growing excited. I never imagined you were actually Shenghui's son. I always said that Gao couple couldn't have produced a young man like you. He then turned to the assembly, saying, Gentlemen, you might not know Gao Mingzhi, but back when the Gao family was barely hanging on by a thread, this young man single-handedly turned their fortunes around. That Huan real estate project we were preparing to take over 2 years ago, he snatched it right from under our noses. An uproar filled the room. Huan real estate. I seem to recall it now. It had been the Gao family's last lifeline, a deal I had secured through 5 sleepless days and nights of sheer relentless effort. I believe young CEO Su can undoubtedly lead our Su Corporation to renewed glory. Anyone who disagrees may raise their hand now. Li Rui's voice rang out, firm and resonant. Even Lu Qi fell silent. I scanned the room, finally breathing an inward sigh of relief. Seizing the opportunity, I declared, I make you all a promise here today. Within 3 years, I will elevate the Su Corporation to new heights. Should I fail, I am willing to forfeit 35% of my shares. I ask that you place your trust in me this once. Li Rui led the applause. After the meeting concluded, I stopped Lu Qi. His eyes darted away from mine, but his tone remained defiant. Your girlfriend gets stolen, yet you shamelessly boast about leading the Su Corporation to a brighter future? That's rich. Then let's make a bet. If I fail to achieve my goal, I will personally give you an additional 15% of my shares. How about it? Lu Qi's eyes lit up. Really? But if you lose, I want you out of the Su Corporation. Deal. Lu Qi smirked scornfully, as if victory was already his. 3 years, just as you said. Not a day longer. No need, I countered. For our bet, 1 year will suffice. I smiled as well, leaving Lu Qi frozen with disbelief as I turned and walked away. Since taking over the company, I rarely returned to the villa outside the 3rd Ring Road. I simply kept a few changes of clothes that the large flat Song Mei had given me, going back once a week to swap them out. Although the major shareholders had been temporarily appeased, all the significant projects during the time of Su Conglomerat's downfall had been snapped up by rival companies. I was incredibly busy day in and day out, my schedule packed to the brim. Song Mei rarely disturbed me. In this, she placed her complete trust in me. Until one Friday, I suddenly received a call from her. Xiao, Sha Haitan tonight at 8:30. I'm bringing a friend for you to meet. I glanced out the window at the darkening sky and waved my secretary out of the room. When Maybach stopped at the restaurant entrance, I didn't get out immediately. This was a place where Nanji and I had first met. I had been inside treating suppliers to dinner, and Nanji happened to be working part-time. While pouring wine, she accidentally spilled it all over my white suit trousers. I collected my thoughts, suddenly realizing it had been a long time since I'd last thought of her. Xiao, this is your uncle Hu, Song Mei introduced, pulling me over with a smile. I saw a young woman sitting beside him. She stood up and offered her hand. Hello, my name is Mingu. Mingu is Uncle Hu's pride and joy, Song Mei continued. She just returned from studying in the UK. If there's anything you're unsure about in the future, you should definitely consult her. Consult Xiao? Heavens no. Uncle Hu demurred. I've heard all about you, Xiao. Truly brilliant. This younger generation is quite remarkable. If my Mingu were half as capable, I could retire without a worry. After a round of mutual compliments, Hu Mingu and I exchanged contact information. After seeing the two of them off, Song Mei said to me, your Uncle Hu's family is in real estate. Although the market has been sluggish these past few years, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Besides, he's an old friend of your father's. You should cultivate the connection more for business in the future. I signaled for the driver to take Song Mei home, then returned to the private room and sat down. Having been under intense strain for so long, now that I finally had a moment to unwind, memories of the past rushed into my thoughts. I asked the server for a bottle of red wine and took a long, deep draught. President Su certainly seems to be enjoying himself. I looked up, surprised to see Hu Mingyu. She had returned. I forgot my bag, she explained, just came back to grab it. She pursed her lips slightly, picking up a black Hermes bag from a nearby seat. You're not quite like the rumors described. The rumors don't paint you as a very nice person, she continued. Honestly, I didn't want to come today, but I couldn't argue with my dad. Having met you now, though, I think those rumors must be false. Gao Mingzhi, Su Xiao, whom Mingu murmured thoughtfully, then suddenly brightened. You look bored out of your mind. Let me take you somewhere fun. I haven't had a chance to really let loose since I got back anyway. On some strange impulse, I actually got into the car with her. It wasn't until the car pulled up before the flashing neon lights of a bar that I started trying to think of an excuse to slip away. But I don't know where Mingu found the strength. She waved over a few friends who had come out to meet her, and together, they practically dragged me inside. The moment I opened my eyes, I knew I was in trouble. Just as I feared, it was already 9 o'clock. The first thing I did was check my phone, over 10 missed calls. Then I saw Mingu lying beside me, and for a moment my breath caught. Last night, but I couldn't remember a thing. Mingu, however, said drowsily, "Don't worry, nothing happened. How did you find my place?" I asked any song. She even told me to take good care of you. I was speechless for a moment. Are you shy? Mingu suddenly leaned in, staring at me. I had to admit, she was very beautiful. My heart started pounding violently, as if it had just sprung back to life. Just kidding. Hurry up and get to work. I need another 3 hours of sleep. Acting as if she were in her own home, I shook my head helplessly, got dressed as quickly as possible, and rushed to the company. Manager Su, someone's here looking for you. They've been waiting all morning. Said they're a relative of yours. They're still waiting in the office. Okay, got it. The moment the door opened, I froze. To my surprise, it was Nanji. This was the first time I had seen her since that wedding. Mingzhi, is it really you? Nanji was dressed, just as she always had been. She stood before me, yet she felt like a complete stranger. What is it? My head was splitting from a hangover. I loosened my tie, sank into the executive chair, and asked casually. Nanji's eyes reddened. After a long moment, she murmured softly, Hina, we've separated. I lifted my head. It seems Gao Mingho only likes making others into cuckolds, but doesn't like being made one himself. Tears instantly streamed down Nanji's face. I'm sorry. That video, it wasn't what it looked like. It was my aunt. She wasn't home. My uncle. He threatened me, told me not to say anything. You should be telling Gao Mingho this. But it's you I love. The last few words were barely louder than a whisper. I snorted with laughter. I stood up and walked over to Nanji, gazing at the face I had once longed for day and night. Su Xiao, your briefcase. Mingu barged straight in, followed by the secretary, whose face wore a look of helpless apology. Looks like I come at a bad time. Mingu's expression clouded over slightly. She tossed the briefcase onto my desk and walked out without a backward glance. For some reason, a flicker of unease stirred within me. I wanted to go after her, but Nanji grabbed my arm firmly. Mingzhi, can we start over? Please. I looked at her delicate, pleading face, then forcefully pulled my arm free. Absolutely impossible. Mingu had blocked me for several days, and I'd been too busy with company matters to find time to explain. It wasn't until a seminar about half a month later that I saw her. The first time we met, she was dressed simply, but this time, she was elaborately attired for the occasion. A vision of beauty. Once again, I felt my heart pounding violently. What are you doing here? A sharp slap on my shoulder. It was Gao Yaozu. He looked me up and down with disdain, frowning as he spoke. Everyone here is an industry elite. You don't even bear the Gao name anymore. If you dare to swindle people using the Gao family name, I won't let you off. Mr. Gao. I met his gaze with the same look. A gathering of elites? I doubt it. There are always some hangers-on joining the fray, like the person behind you, for instance. Approaching us from behind was none other than Gao Mingho. Actually, Gao Yaozu did have some real skills. If his health hadn't been deteriorating, he wouldn't have been in such a hurry to promote his son. Unfortunately, it's a case of hero father, worthless son. Gao Mingzhi, how did you get in? Gao Mingho's opening line was identical to his father's. I sneered. You must have the wrong person. Aren't the two gentlemen surnamed Gao standing right here? Rejecting face when it's offered. I've already put the word out. Let's see who dares to give you a job. If you obediently admit defeat, I might even arrange some position for you. Before I could retort, Li Rue walked over. Gao Yaozu's eyes instantly lit up. He hurried forward, asking obsequiously, President Li, hello. I'm Gao Yaozu from the Gao Group. We've met before. Do you remember? This is my son, Gao Mingho. He just returned from abroad to take over management, and regarding your recent responsibilities here. Before he could finish, Li Rue interrupted him. I know the Gao family. You were all over the headlines recently, even more famous than the Su Corporation. Li Rue was all smiles, completely ignoring the ashen faces of the Gao father and son. I've long heard a younger son is a real force in the business world. A pity such talent was wasted. That kid is too ambitious. It's not that I was being excessive. It's just that he really, afraid you two couldn't control him in the end? Rightly so. Li Rui's smile grew even brighter. He walked over to my side and patiently introduced. Allow me to introduce you both. This is our Su Corporation's young president Su, the biological son of Su Shenghui. What? I didn't want to see their wide, stunned eyes fixed on me. I turned and walked towards Mingu. Last time, it wasn't like that. The words reached my lips, but I didn't know how to begin. Mingu turned to face me. Her makeup today was exquisite, so perfect that I couldn't read any emotion in her expression. You don't need to explain anything. It doesn't matter. As she said this and turned to leave, I acted on impulse and grabbed her arm. Xiao, Li Rui called out a reminder from behind. Many pairs of eyes had already turned towards us. Let go, Mingu said through gritted teeth, her gaze stubbornly fixed elsewhere. I caught sight of a crowd gathering out of the corner of my eye. My heart tightened, but my grip didn't loosen in the slightest. In a low voice, I said, "Why did you block me? For no good reason." Gao Mingzhi, how dare you lay hands on her in broad daylight? Gao Mingho's voice rang out, clearly intending to play the hero rescuing the damsel. Everyone look, this is the adopted son of our Gao family. We painstakingly raised him for over 20 years, and what does he do? He turns around and latches onto a higher branch, forgetting even his own name. Murmurs began to ripple through the surrounding crowd. As if encouraged, Gao Mingho took a few more steps forward. The Su Corporation is a vast enterprise, but they should beware of one bad apple spoiling the whole barrel. I shot a look at Li Rui to stop him from rushing forward, and was just about to free a hand to slap Gao Mingho hard across the face, when unexpectedly, Mingu linked her arm through mine and declared loudly, "Is my business with my boyfriend any of your concern? The Gao family? Who are they? Oh, you mean the Gao family that showed that kind of video at a wedding? You?" Gao Mingho's face flushed crimson as the crowd erupted in laughter directed at him. After the seminar ended, Mingu and I walked out of the banquet hall, one after the other. Gao Mingho's car was parked by the roadside, but there was no sign of Gao Yaozu. He had likely already left in a fit of anger. If looks could kill, Gao Mingho would have already subjected me to death by 1,000 cuts. I opened the car door, let Mingu get in first, and mouthed to her, "Wait for me a moment." Removing my tie and wrapping it around my hand, I realized I'd wanted to beat up Gao Mingho for a long time, and the feeling was mutual. Seeing me approach alone, he rubbed his fists together eagerly. When I was about 5 meters away, a woman suddenly rushed out, grabbed Gao Mingho's leg, and cried out loudly, "Honey, I was wrong. Honey, I can give up anything for you. I don't need anything, just don't leave me." My steps faltered. I recognized the woman before me. It was Nanji, the once elegant and noble Nanji. Gao Mingho couldn't be bothered with me now. He was trying to shake off the woman clinging to his leg, but couldn't. He just kept shouting curses. "Damn it. Don't think I don't know why you got with me back then. Wasn't it because you saw I was going to inherit the family business that you ditched that kid? Your own scandalous mess has dragged me through the mud. I still want to settle the score with you. Let me tell you, this divorce is final. Men are truly ruthless when they turn heartless." Gao Mingho looked at me, his face twisted, and yelled, "I'm giving your woman back to you. Damn it. What rotten luck." Only then did Nanji look up. Having not seen her for half a month, she was even thinner, looking utterly gaunt. She stopped pleading and just stared blankly at me. Gao Mingho finally managed to break free, quickly jumped into his car, and drove away. I turned to leave, only to see Mingu, who should have been in the car, appear before me. I was screwed. Mingu took the initiative and invited Nanji to my place. Seeing the two women sitting on the sofa, I felt completely helpless. Previously, Mingu seeing Nanji trying to hold on to me had caused so much trouble. Now, here she was, delivered right to my doorstep. That scumbag. If you're divorced, you're divorced. Are you afraid you won't survive without him? Nanji, her eyes red-rimmed, took a sip of water. After a long pause, she spoke slowly, but, "I'm pregnant." Mingu and I stared wide-eyed at the same time. Then, Mingu looked at me. "Mingho, he won't acknowledge this child. He told me to get rid of it. So, when you came looking for me that day, it was to make me the unwitting father? What on earth were you thinking?" This woman had once again shattered my perception of her. 7 years, and only now did I truly see her clearly. Nanji left. She cast a reluctant look towards me, her gaze sweeping over every corner of the room once more, eyes filled with a lingering attachment. Mingu saw her to the door. I don't know what passed between them. When Mingu returned, she suddenly wrapped her arms around my neck. Earlier today, I said you were my boyfriend, and you didn't object. That means you agreed, right? You're not angry anymore. Yes. My relationship with Mingu received the unanimous blessing of both our families. Song-mei even proposed we get engaged next month. Wasn't this all too fast? Mingu, however, seemed merely to be following instructions, her compliance bewilderingly complete. The engagement ceremony was simple. We hosted close family and friends in the morning, and in the afternoon, I hurried back to the company to deal with work. Life since meeting Mingu had been as smooth as a dream. Representing the Su Corporation, I secured several government projects one after another. While it wasn't enough to return us to our heyday, it certainly stabilized the situation. It was right at this moment that Su Conglomerate died. In the dead of night, Song-mei's heart pounded violently. When she went into the adjoining room, Su Conglomerate had already stopped breathing. A check of the surveillance footage revealed he had passed away 10 minutes before she entered. Su Conglomerate had removed the respirator himself. His illness was congenital. It could only sustain his life, not cure him. As fate would have it, Su Shenghui woke up the very next morning. He awoke only to face his son's funeral. Song-mei had intended to keep it from him, but he merely gazed out the window and murmured, "Conglomerate, he visited me last night. Said he had to go." The housekeepers filling the room all began to wipe away tears. Several of them had watched Su Conglomerate grow up. Su Shenghui's eyes widened when he saw me, and he broke into a violent fit of coughing. I saw my own reflection in his cloudy pupils. After trembling for a long while, Su Shenghui finally managed to utter a few words. Just like Xiao Yao. Exactly the same. My mother's name was Liao Yao. Come here. Su Shenghui beckoned to me. I knelt by the bed, letting his rough, large hand stroke the back of my head. Yao 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 Yao. No one knew whether the aged man, at that moment, was calling me or my mother. In October, I had been negotiating an overseas deal. If I secured it, the bet between Lu Qi and me would be considered fulfilled. As it was our first collaboration, to show sincerity, I decided to make the trip personally. The day before I left, while Mingu and I were eating at the villa, Song-mei suddenly told me that the Gao family had gone bankrupt. The chopsticks in my hand paused midair for a few seconds. I picked up the last piece of braised pork and placed it in Mingu's bowl. Eat more. I'll get fat if I eat any more. A little extra weight is healthy. Early the next morning, Mingu drove me to the airport. She gave me a letter, telling me with an air of mystery that I could only open it after boarding. As the plane's engines roared to life, I opened the envelope in my hand. When the familiar handwriting met my eyes, I realized with a shock that it was actually written by Nanji. The further I read, the more my hands trembled. Nanji had killed herself. I only knew of her origins, but not the story behind them. That video from the wedding was filmed after Nanji had been drugged by her uncle. It was originally meant to blackmail me, but at the last minute the target was changed. Nanji's scheming began 7 years ago. She planned to leverage her youth and beauty to marry someone powerful and influential, ensuring she could escape her past forever. I wasn't her first target, but after careful consideration, I became her best choice. When my identity as an adopted son was exposed, condemning me to return to an ordinary life, her uncle incited her again, prompting her to turn and choose Gao Mingzhi. Behind this thirst for power lurked her impulse to kill. A pity. After 7 years, I never even glimpsed the countless wounds hidden beneath her facade. Nanji, I already gave you $1 million, enough for you and the child to live well. The contract signed without a hitch, I flew back on the earliest available flight. Mingu was waiting at the airport early that morning. When she saw me, she didn't rush forward, but simply said quietly, "I've already ordered the flowers. Let's go see her together." I nodded. In the furthest corner of the cemetery, I saw a small headstone bearing just a few simple words, Nanji's grave. I laid down the flowers I held. For a moment, I was utterly speechless. Mingu told me from beside me that Nanji had bought rat poison, mixed it into her uncle's cup, and only left after watching him breathe his last. Then, she walked alone to a bridge 3 kilometers away and jumped. Her body was recovered 3 days after I'd left. A gentle breeze swept by, and I felt my heart clench violently. Hatred? That had faded long ago, surely. Some are destined for warmth, others for the cold. Alas, how often things defy our wishes. Fate walks its own path, endlessly toying with mortals. By the time of the wedding, with Mingu, Su Shenghui's health had improved enough for him to attend. He publicly announced the official transfer of the Su Corporation to me, eliciting cheers from the audience below the stage. Finally, it was my turn to reap success in both career and love. On the way back to our newlywed home, the driver of the car ahead struck someone. After reassuring Mingu, I got out to investigate and discovered, to my surprise, it was Shenghui. Her eyes lit up sharply upon seeing me, only to dim again almost immediately. It turned out that after Gao Mingzhi took over the company, his management style was mostly theoretical, all talk and no substance, which drove away many veteran employees. The remaining sycophants and ne'er-do-wells were only too eager to squander everything together, paying lip service while lining their own pockets. The empire I had painstakingly built ultimately didn't last even a year in Gao Mingzhi's hands. Before leaving, I signed a check for 2 million yuan and gave it to her. Regardless of everything, we were mother and son once. Consider this payment to sever our ties. As the Cullinan drove past, I glanced in the rearview mirror at Shenghui, still standing in the middle of the road. She stared blankly in my direction. Growing up, she had never looked at me with such focus. Her gaze had always followed Gao Mingzhi. Darling, if we have a baby, what should we name it? Mingu smiled, taking my hand and placing on her flat stomach. How about Susu? Why? Guess. Mingu gave a playful smile, wrapping her arms around mine and beaming sweetly. The wind outside ruffled her beautiful hair, strands gently brushing against my face. This very moment was the most beautiful instant of my life.